have some kind of a communist society, individual human beings have to give up their own innate desire to improve their own lives through their own work and to provide for their families and for their children and for their grandchildren through their own work. If you're going to live in some kind of a Marxist socialist society, you have to forget about that, and you have to begin working for the betterment of your fellow man. Frankly, that just is not going to happen. We are seeing the evidence of this every day coming from great Americans like Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer and Harry Reid and Barack Obama. Yeah. Barack Obama clearly did not have an American upbringing. He didn't have an American childhood. He spent part of his childhood in a Mohammedan madrasa in Indonesia or Malaysia or wherever he was traveling all over the world on a British passport somehow. This guy is not really one of us. Now, many people say, oh, and the NAACP is big, oh, the Tea Parties, AF, they're all a bunch of racists. Listen, if Colin Powell had been running for president, I would have voted for him in a heartbeat. Who wouldn't have? Great American like him. But now we have allowed our country basically to be taken over by people who do not share American values, people who look at regular, average, everyday Americans as having something wrong with them, and people who apparently are looking at the Soviet Union in the 1970s under Brezhnev, and they're saying, boy, that looks pretty good to us. You know, that looks better than what we've got here. One of the things that our government clearly does not get and does not understand is history. If there's only one thing that is learned from history in this world, it is that nothing is apparently learned from history. We saw every single mistake that the U.S. government and the Treasury Department and FDR and Herbert Hoover did when the stock market crashed in 1929 and a credit crunch came. What did they do? They raised the interest rate. Unbelievable. There were a couple of guys like J.P. Morgan and Vanderbilt who had gotten together shortly after the October crash, and what they were going to do was use their own money to start buying up stocks and try to prop up the value. That was a non-starter at the beginning, but the point of the matter is this. You cannot, our government cannot, no government can, number one, avoid a recession. There are business cycles, they take place by themselves. If government could stop recessions from happening, there would never be a recession, would there? But once one starts, government normally tries to get more control over the economy. That's the problem in the first place. This economy, under our Constitution today, starting in 1789, by 1844, we had the largest economy in the world. American business, until the early part of the 20th century, was generally unregulated. Yes, there were railroad accidents because the government didn't regulate it. There were snake oil salesmen because there was no FDA. I understand all that. But even still, we became the largest economy in the world in about 50 years. That had never, ever happened before, and we are still the largest economy in the world. We will continue to be the largest economy in the world. We will continue to be the land of opportunity. We will continue to be a place where your own hard work is going to determine what your future will be. As Abraham Lincoln, that great Republican president, once said, in this country, a man ought to be able to go as far and rise as high as his own talents and industry will take him. But today's government, they don't want to hear that. All they want to hear is, we're going to raise up the poor and we're going to tear down the rich. You can't do that. Everybody knows it. So in conclusion, we have an opportunity in about a month We hear this quite a bit. I've been hearing it my whole life, that this election is going to determine the future of our country. This election is the most important one in history. I've been hearing this stuff since the late 1950s. But the fact of the matter is, it is true now. If the Democrats maintain control of the Congress, they will have 2 more years to impose this absurd government-run socialist medicine scheme on the American people. They'll have 2 more years to ram cap and trade down our throats. They will have 2 more years to figure out a way to regulate speech on the internet and on talk radio. They will have 2 more years to raise taxes on anybody that is achieving things, and they will have 2 more years to gut our military and surrender to the Mohammedans, because that's obviously what they want to do. If we don't want to live in a country where there are only 2 kinds of behavior, that which is compulsory and that which is prohibited, because that's the path they want us to be on, we have got to get out there in November. We've got to start now. We have to begin organizing now. This is a room filled with people who care. This is a room filled with people that take these issues seriously, or you wouldn't be here in the first place, despite the great food and the excellent company of people like Joe and Andy, etc. But the fact of the matter is, all the organization that has been done in the last year, all of the Tea Parties, all of the Americans for Prosperity rallies like this one, whatever it is that got us to where we are now is not going to be enough to keep us there. We must redouble our efforts. We must spend more time going door to door. We must spend more time on the internet. We have to blog. We have to email. We have to contact people constantly. We've got to get out the vote and make sure that the American people, which starts with our family, our neighbors, and our friends, understand that if the Democrats remain in control, we are looking at a Soviet-style America within the next 20 years. I don't want to go there. I hope you don't want to go there either. And I hope everyone will do their part to save our country. Have a great day. Thanks very much.